welcome back to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing really well. If you're new around here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. We're absolutely churning out the subscribers at the moment. Can't thank you enough for the support. We're right into the end of pre-season. Football is about to start. We're only, 18 days away from my team playing. So that's not far away at all, which means we're well and truly there. We're looking at the moment at the depth of all the AFL lists. So we did Adelaide. Make sure you check that video out. That was quite a good video. We're on to Brisbane now. We're encroaching the Carlton territory soon. But Brisbane, obviously, a team that are much hyped. They've been there. They've been just about at the precipice, the finalists last year. A lot is expected of Brisbane Lions this year. So let's have a look at what their depth is from one of the lists that is regarded as the upper echelons of the AFL world, and let's get straight into it. So let's take a look at what we've got. So we've got, as we know from the last video, you've got the top tier, which is like the upper echelon of players. We're talking like the top players in the league for their positions. We've got good, which is self-explanatory. We've got depth role. I want you to make sure that you don't look at depth and role player as a negative. For me, role players are the most important part. For me, if you're winning a list, the third and the fourth row are probably going to be the most important rows. What have you got coming in that's potentially better than the row above it? And role players, as we know, are the missing ingredients, in my opinion, of winning a flag. And let's get straight into it. So obviously we start with Kai Lohmann, the forward, and he'll definitely be there or thereabouts. I'd say at the moment he is, and we're doing this like basically at the end of the season, but I think he's a stonewall role player. I really like Kai Lohmann. These are the type of players that do win your flags. We were talking just then about looking at the list as a kind of a, how are you going to win a flag? What's there in replacement? Kai Lohmann, for me, does his role in the forward half of the ground. Very tenacious, and I think he'll be pushing, in my opinion, pushing for starting honours. He's definitely in the top 25 players. It's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. Devon Robertson up next. We know how good Devon is. An incredible footballer, and one that really, for me, has had much talk about purely from the basis of that he was so highly touted in his draft year that he didn't go early. I'm going to put him just around that depth role player for now. Probably good, in my opinion. But I think if we're talking about it, he's definitely going to be in that role. But he's got the potential to be a very good footballer. Joe Daniher, I'm going to be controversial here. I would consider Joe Daniher top tier. I think what he does as a footballer is as good as anyone when he's on the park and when he's fit and firing. He scores some very important goals, and I think that that's what you've got to judge a key forward on. I think you've got the guys who are the accumulators of goals, but you've also got the guys that work really hard up and down the ground and create problems. And I feel like Joe Daniher is always one of them players, even if he's out of form, he's always going to draw players towards him just because of how good he is. Could be controversial. I'm a big fan of Joe Daniher. I think he's an exceptional footballer. Up next, we've got Callum Archie, very famous around the Carlton grounds. I think he's a bit like Devon. He's like kind of in between that depth, role player, good player, very solid player. So it's a tough one here. I'm going to put him in depth and role. I feel like I have to put him the same as Devon Robertson. But then we come on to Dunkers. Josh Dunkley for me, top tier. Top tier footballer. And his mate here, Hugh McCluggage. For me, one of the most underrated players in the league is Hugh McCluggage. I don't understand how he gets so much disrespect in the AFL greater department. For me, he is so good at what he does. And him and Dunkley, that combination, could be potentially one of the most potent in the league. We haven't even gotten to their mate, Lockie Neal, but incredible footballer. Up next, we've got the man himself, Jared Belly, another player that I feel like just gets totally forgotten about that plays for Brisbane, but incredible when he's out wide, slots on the forward line as well. Incredible player, incredible player. I'm a big fan. The next two are quite easy. Will Ashcroft already in good, and reigning Brownlow medalist. You can't not have him top tier. It's a real solid core already. As you can see, Brisbane are going to be around here. They've just got a very good list, a real list that's balanced as well. And that is something that people forget about. It's a very balanced list, and I feel like it doesn't get enough respect in the AFL. People in the AFL just want superstars all the time. And that's why I think this video is a really important exercise to try and change your mind on how these players perform. Because if you've got a load in the depth role player, basically what that's saying is they're going to do a job and allow the top tier to shine. If you've just got a load of top tier players, and Carlton were kind of in that predicament 3 or 4 years ago, they have top tier players, but then there's no one in good, and it's borderline development state, depth and role. You want a lot of depth and good players if you can to back them up. Lincoln McCarthy, for me, straight into the good. Again, another underrated player, and they've got so much good success, in my opinion, of bringing these players into the limelight. Wasn't Geelong. I always thought he was okay, but you look at how he serves his role at Brisbane, it's incredible for me. It's incredible. Up next, Tom Doedee. Good, incredible acquisition for them, and it makes their backline really potent. Feel like that addition really will kind of showcase how good Harris Andrews is, and in my opinion, Harris Andrews is one of the most underrated players in the league. Logan Morris, I think he's going to be a really good one for me to keep an eye out this year, because he is probably the most underrated forward in his draft. Real talented player, and one that I'm really looking at going, you know what, this could be something special here, something real special. I'm really excited about seeing where that goes with him, because I'm a big fan of what he is about. James Madden up next, and Madden is one of them players, isn't he, that I feel like we kind of forget about James Madden. Is he best 22? I don't know. And I also think with the players that are coming through, he could be one of them players, in my opinion, that's at risk. That's at risk, and is going to be in a little bit of problems. Dane Zorko, depth and role player, I've put him in. That could be harsh, but I feel like the time has passed him by. He's still incredibly good at what he does, but I feel like his role now will change to a more... You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Cam Rayner, instantly in the good, could be top tier. For me, an incredible footballer at what he does. He's very solid, and he's going to be one player that I'm looking out for. I love that move to the half-back line, and then he moved back to half-forward. There's no doubt about his talent. His talent is amazing. At risk, we've got Mr. Jared Loynes. Just seems to have fallen off a cliff, hasn't he, recently? And he's out of contract this year, same as Madden. I feel like that is going to be a problem. Kitty Coleman, top tier. Brilliant back end of the last year. I'm a real big fan. A real big fan of what he's about. The zip off halfback. Then when they moved him forward, he was deadly. I can see him having spurts in the midfield as well. Just changes the game when he needs to. I'm a big fan. Then we've got big dog Luke Lloyd. He's going to be spending the league in the State League, developing. He should be a really exciting player. Jackson Pryor. Depth. Real depth. And he's another player that I feel like people just forget about. Get about, because he is so reliable when they call upon him. Big Zane. He's going to be in the State League this year, developing his game. Real big, tall guy with a lot of key facets that really make you excited as a recruiter. I'm really intrigued to see how his year goes. I'm really intrigued, because I feel like there's a lot to work with him, and I feel like he could be an absolute great acquisition for the Lions. Up next, then, we've got Big Dog as well. We've gone from Zane, we've gone Harry Sharp. He's definitely going to be one of them players again, who's just on the outer, but I feel like they've got a lot of players like Harry Sharp, so I'm going to put him at risk, because I feel like the development of some of their younger players could push Sharpie out. Charlie Cameron, for me, the best at what he does in the league. Bums off seat footballer, I like to call them. A player that you just really get excited about and you can't wait to see. Sensational footballer. Brandon Ryan, I'm really looking forward to seeing this acquisition. He will get game time. At the moment, a depth player, but I wouldn't be surprised when we do this at the end of the season to see him really, really shine and go that next step further to see, to be best 22 and beyond that. I'm really a big fan of him because he allows the others to be a foil. And I feel like Hipwood, he's always in and out of form, isn't he, Hippers? I feel like he could be the next one. Henry Smith, he's going to get some development time, I feel. And Connor McKenna, I'm going to put him in the good section. What a revelation since he's come back. I'm a big fan of what he does. An incredible footballer in his own right. The modern day footballer as well. Can't be understated that. The modern day footballer. Darcy Gardner, for me, one of my favourites up here. Another real solid player. It allows Harris Andrews to do what he does. Whenever he's called upon, he's serviceable. Really important that when you're building a list that you've got these players that are backups almost. That when they do play, they're as good as your first teamers. I'm going to be bold here. I was hot on him in his draft year. Jasper Fletcher, for me, has got all the hallmarks of one of the best wingers in the country. Quick, elusive, aggressive, bold, route one. He's brave. I'm a big fan. I've got him in the good section already. That's how hot I am on Jasper Fletcher. Eric Hipwood is a weird one, isn't he? I'm going to put him in the good because I feel like he presents well and he allows the smalls to work. Probably lacking goals, if we're honest, but I'm a big fan of Eric Hipwood. I'm a big fan. Big dog, Harris Andrews, one of the best players in the league, without a shadow of a doubt. He's an absolute beast. Absolute beast, and I won't have any bad words said about him. James Tunstall, he's one of these players that he's always on the outer, but again, always, when he's called upon, he's always solid. So I'm going to put him in the old depth category. And then we're on to the big dogs, aren't we? The big dogs. Darcy Fort. Darcy Fort is definitely going to be very important to this because if there is an injury, he comes in, he's serviceable, he's played the game enough now to be really warrant a position, and I'm a big fan of him. Zachy Bailey. Zach Bailey, he is an incredible little footballer, isn't he, Zach Bailey? Let's be honest. Let's just talk about Zach Bailey. I'm going to put him in the top tier. I feel like he's one of the most underrated players in the league as well. Absolutely destroys it whenever I've seen him play. I'm a big fan of Zach Bailey. I'm a huge fan. Shadow Brain, he could be at risk. I'm a big fan, though, because I feel like there's a lot to work with. But so I think you may give him an extension, a year's extension. But there is something to work with there. Very talented player from your academy. I'm a big fan. Ryan Lester, I feel like is at risk now. He's out of contract at the end of the year. I think players are going to supersede him. Interesting, just a caveat, I have got him at back pocket in my best 22. I feel like players will usurp him though. That is my bold call there. But he's definitely a serviceable player and I am a fan. It's no disrespect to him. I just feel you've got players to go. Reece Torrent will spend his year in development. Brandon Starcevic, again, another depth role player. These back pocket players and then players that play down the back, you've got to have just reliable. Bruce Melville, I'm a big fan of what I saw in the State Leagues and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he develops. There is something to work with there. Exciting. He does the unusual, doesn't he? He does the unusual and that makes me enjoy him. Carter Michael, feel like he's going to be depth this year. I think he's going to get a little bit of a promotion and you're going to start seeing it. And that's why I think some of the older guys may be under a little bit of duress. Jack Payne. This guy here, again, is another one of these players that when you look at them, you don't think of him. But again, he allows Harris Andrews to do what he does. And for that reason alone, for me, that makes him an incredibly good footballer. And that's what people have got to look at. People have got to look at that. Dara Joyce, he's again going to be a role player. I like this acquisition because he's been there, done it. And I feel like there's something to work with there. He's a big cumbersome bloke as well. And I'm really looking forward to that. Noah Answorth, another depth player at this club. And Darcy Wilmot, straight into the good section. I like what I've seen about Darcy Wilmot. And I'm a big fan. Kane Lane, he goes straight into the depth section. And you know what? I'm going to be controversial. Oscar McInerney would be borderline top tier, in my opinion. Just because he outputs. And people forget, ruckmen are so hard to call. But they work so hard. And I feel like Oscar McInerney is one of them. But that's the Brisbane list. As you can see, it's fearsome. And we said the top three And then the fourth one is what we're looking at. And you can see all them guys in depth have got a guy in development state. Let me know what you think about the Lions. A fearsome list and an honour to do. An absolute solid one. Can't wait to see how Lions go this year. Till next time, peace, love and light. Pom out.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad.